Hello, thank you for joining. I will give you all about 60 seconds or so to trickle in, and then we'll dive right in just a minute here. So thank you. Thank you everyone for being here. We're going to get started in a couple of seconds. All right. Thank you everyone for joining today for this webinar, Biodiversity in the Mediterranean Diet, exploring the impact of naturally gluten-free whole grains. So before we get started, I just have a couple of housekeeping notes. These are our learning objectives for today. You should get an email within a week, hopefully by this Friday, but if not, sometime next week, with the CPEU certificate, the slides, and the recording of the presentation. We will have time to do a Q&A afterwards, hopefully. So if you have any questions for our speaker, please use the Q&A function in Zoom, just so that the questions don't get lost in the chat. And then after our speaker presents, whether you are watching this live or watching the recording, please continue to stay with us through the entire presentation to participate in our interactive assessment as well. Before I pass it over, I want to remind you that we have a lot of webinars going on all day today to celebrate what we're calling the Whole Grain Academy. So a day of whole grain learning. So we have a cooking demo with Robin Aspel at noon, and then we have two CPEU webinars later in the afternoon, one on healthcare spending and one on food processing and NOVA classifications. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Dr. La Barbuta, who is joining us all the way from Italy. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly, for such introduction. And thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to talk with you. I'm sharing. Can you see?
Not yet, no.
Now?
Now, yes, looks great.
Okay.
And I want to comment to that
Can you see, Kelly?
yes, this is perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Let's start. Good morning. My name is Rossella La Barbuta. I am a biotechnologist and I work as a R&D manager in an Italian food company named Andriani SPA. Here are my disclosures. Today, I would like to dedicate this time with you to discussing the importance of biodiversity in the Mediterranean diet with a focus on the impact of naturally gluten-free whole grains. Let's start by considering that by 2050, the world's population is expected to reach 9.7 billion. The current global challenge is how to feed this growing population while ensuring access to healthy food to eliminate hunger and malnutrition. This constant population growth represents a significant threat to sustainable development, as it places increasing pressure on natural resources through overexploitation, intensive farming, and land fragmentation. Besides feeding the population, the current agro-food system is also a major driver of environmental degradation and climate change. Additionally, food production is the largest consumer of fresh water and is responsible for up to 30% of global greenhouse gas emission. Given the rising concerns of hunger and food insecurity, cereals play a crucial role in addressing these issues, as they are the primary staple food worldwide, providing the largest share of energy and essential nutrients for humans. One key strategy to achieve zero hunger is to preserve the genetic diversity of the grains and develop nutrient-dense varieties with enhanced health benefits, which are also highly resistant to environmental stresses and disease. Grains are a key component of an healthy diet and have a long-standing tradition in the Mediterranean diet. So, the adoption of healthy and sustainable diet and the transition to sustainable food system is of principal importance in order to counteract the double burden of climate change and non-communicable disease. The Mediterranean diet has been widely recognized as a biodiversity and healthy nutrition resource to support sustainable development and food security. It is no coincidence that in 2012, the Mediterranean diet was recognized intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO. The concept of the Mediterranean diet was first introduced by the seven countries study conducted by Keyes in the 50s of past century. This study described the usual eating habits of population in Greece and southern Italy when the globalization had not yet arrived. Keyes observed that population in the Mediterranean countries had an exceptional longevity with some of the lowest rates of coronary heart disease and cancer versus Western countries. This ecological investigation provided the foundation for the hypothesis that diet may have health protective effects. Over the past several decades, the study has advanced, and today the Mediterranean diet represents a true lifestyle. It emphasizes all minimally processed food and balanced, sustainable lifestyle. This lifestyle includes key principles of balance and well-being, including moderation in food consumption, the use of seasonal and traditional ingredients, a focus on locally sourced, eco-friendly, and biodiverse products, active involvement in meal preparation, the celebration of conviviality and social connection during meals, regular physical activity, proper hydration, and adequate rest. In general, we can therefore say that the Mediterranean diet is today considered a lifestyle model for promoting health and preventing disease. Here we have the key component of the Mediterranean diet and their recommended number of serving. As we can see, the recommended daily amount for cereal is up to 13 servings. The Mediterranean diet reflects the recommended macronutrient distribution. Considering a diet of 2,000 kilocalories, the intake of each micronutrient should be up to 35% of fat, 10 to 12% of protein, and up to 60% of carbohydrates, including about around 30 grams of fiber. The question is, how can we reach that amount of fiber? make half of our grains all grains. That's the answer. Chronic non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular disease, obesity, type 2, diabetes, and cancer are increasing rapidly worldwide. All grains have numerous beneficial impacts on human health due to dietary fibers and phenolic compounds, which have been found to be associated with a reduced risk of chronic non-communicable disease. Many whole grains are naturally gluten-free and provide beneficial nutrients as the mostly common whole grains. The rising global demand for nutrition, sustainable, and plant-based diet has catalyzed interest in naturally gluten-free whole grain and pseudo cereals, offering an innovative alternative to traditional cereals. Naturally gluten-free whole grains are an alternative not only rich in nutrients, but also offer environmental benefits, as many of them require less water, fewer pesticides, and can be grown in diverse climates. Naturally gluten-free whole grains are a great opportunity to expand the biodiversity of the Mediterranean diet at the table. The purpose of its presentation is to deep dive the pivotal role of naturally gluten-free whole grains in the biodiversity of Mediterranean diet, highlighting scientific findings about their nutritional properties and health benefits. Then, according to the American Association of Cereals Chemists International, all grains shall consist of intact, ground, cracked, or flaked caryopsis, whose principal anatomical components, including starchy endosperm, germ, and bran, are distributed in the same relative proportion as they exist in the intact caryopsis. Since 2006, the definition of whole grain includes pseudo cereals because the overall macronutrient composition is comparable to that of cereals, and they are used in the same traditional way as cereals. Then, given this introduction, the question is how naturally gluten-free cereals can add variety to our healthy diet. Well, the answer is naturally gluten-free whole grains can make a significant contribution to our diet by enhancing its quality and variety, offering a broader range of carbohydrate sources and bioactive compounds, which are shown in the list you see. These compounds are found in three major components of all grains, and they are phytochemicals, that is, they are secondary metabolites that have shown biological activity and have been broadly investigated as health beneficial groups of compounds in food. The major sources of these phytochemicals are phenolic compounds due to the high concentration of bioactive constituents in the brain and germ layer. Naturally gluten-free cereals are numerous and very interesting for their various nutritional, sensory, and consumption aspects. I have carefully selected those examples I consider most representative with the intention of fostering further scientific inquiry following this webinar. So, the first cereal I would like to draw your attention to is brown rice. Rice is one of the world's most important cereals, providing the main food for more than 50% of world's population. Rice is a naturally gluten-free grain, and it's hold considerable importance in human nutrition and is appreciated for its mildness, hypoallergenic properties, and easy digestibility. Rice is classified into brown and white rice, depending on the degree of milling. The health benefits of whole grain rice derive mainly from its polyphenols, which are predominantly present in the bran layer. According to the asked grain color, all grain rice varieties can be subdivided into non-pigmented rice varieties and pigmented rice varieties, purple, black, and red rice varieties. Consumption of brown rice is more beneficial than that of milled rice due to its traditional nutritional superiority. I choose to talk about this cereal due to its remarkable nutritional properties. Here's why. Brown rice is a rice seed from which only the husk is the hulled, and it consists of endosperm, bran, and germ. Rice is often consumed as white rice, although the excessively refined milling processes of the production of white rice result in a large amount of food waste and nutrient loss. Studies have shown that rice bran is rich in biofunctional components, which are beneficial for human health, including lipids, proteins, vitamins, fibers, and polyphenols. The regular consumption of brown rice products is associated with reduced the risk of chronic disease such as type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity. The unique phytochemicals and dietary fiber that exist in rice bran contribute to these beneficial effects. Another gluten-free cereals with extraordinary characteristic is oat. Oat is a cereal grain from the Poaceae family, cultivated for cattle feed and human consumption. Avena sativa is the world's most widely grown and popular oat cultivar today. Oat owes its fame to its unique nutritional characteristics that set it apart from other cereals. Oat has high protein content, up to 20%, and an ample amount of essential amino acids. Oat protein are high in albumins, globulins, and low in prolamins. Prolamins have a lower lysine content than albumins and globulins, and hence oat protein has a higher biological value than other cereals, and the limited amino acid score of oat flour is 66.9, whereas the wheat flour is 49.8. Oat also has an higher fat content, up to 10%, than wheat and most other cereals, with a high percentage of unsaturated fat. High concentration of antioxidant compounds, avenantramide, which are unique to oats, are powerful antioxidants with high antioxidative activity in humans. Last but not least, I'd like to highlight that oat is a good source of soluble dietary fiber, particularly beta-glucan, a powerful bioactive compound extremely important in human nutrition. Beta-glucan has been shown to lower blood cholesterol and glucose absorption in the intestine, thereby preventing disease such as cardiovascular injury, dyslipidemia, hypertension, inflammatory state, and type 2 diabetes. The European Food and Safety Authority and the FDA have accredited health claim for oat foods containing oat beta-glucan to lower serum cholesterol and the risk of CVD. The recommended intake for a cholesterol lowering effect is 3 grams of oat beta-glucan per day. Oat-based food products are gaining popularity as functional food, provide a natural way to enhance overall wellness. Here is another cereal with an interesting nutritional profile. I'm talking about teff. Teff is native of Ethiopia and Eritrea, where it is consumed mainly in the form of injera. Teff grain is naked and comes in a range of colors from milky white to almost dark brown. The most common colors are white, creamy white, light brown, and dark brown. The word teff derived from the word teffa, which means lost, due to small size of the grain and how easily it is lost if dropped. Teff is becoming globally popular due to the attractive nutritional profile. Teff has been implicated in the low incidence of anemia in Ethiopia, and it is presumed to be due to the grain's high content of iron. In addition, according to the same studies, malaria is frequently found in the groups with lower hemoglobin levels. Teff is highly nutrition. Indeed, it contains up to 11% of protein with an high amount of essential amino acids. Easy to digest because the main protein fractions such as albumin, glutenin, and globulin are the most digestible type. Teff has a fiber content about 8%, and it is rich in minerals such as calcium, zinc, magnesium, iron, phosphorus, and contains good level of vitamins, and it is a precious source of bioactive compounds such as polyphenols. There are many culinary uses. The most iconic is injera, that is a spongy, slightly sour flatbread that serves as both a plate and a utensil in Ethiopian meals. Teff flour can be used also to make bread, pancakes, porridge, and baked goods. It's often mixed with other gluten-free flour in baking. And the last, teff could be used as a grain to prepare different dishes. For example, also side dishes, or it could be used in soup or stews. Let's move forward, seeing sorghum, that is an ancient and sustainable grain. Sorghum is particularly valued for its resilience to drought and high temperature. And it is the world's fifth most important cereals after wheat, rice, maize, and barley. The United States is the most significant producer of this crop, followed by Nigeria, Ethiopia, India, Mexico, and China. Sorghum has small seeds with pigmented pericarp, and the most commercially available varieties are black, white, and red. White sorghum is used for food products, while red sorghum is utilized primarily in the alcohol distillation industry. Sorghum grains are ovoid with one hand more pointed. Sorghum varieties are classified into five groups based on their hand use application: sweet sorghum for syrup and biofuel, grain for biofuel, human food, and animal feed, fiber forage, and the broom core for broom making. Sorghum is a nutritious grain, and here's why. Starch is the main component of sorghum. However, sorghum grains show the highest content of resistant starch and the lowest starch digestibility and glycemic index among cereal crops. The major protein fractions in sorghum are prolamins, followed by glutenins. However, it has a low content of essential amino acids. The lipid in sorghum grains is made up of saturated fats and high concentration of unsaturated fatty acids. Sorghum, especially red sorghum, contains various phytochemicals, mainly phenolic acids, flavonoids, tannins with substantial health promoting effects. Some sorghum grains, especially pigmented grains, have limited application as human foods due to the presence of condensing tannins contributed to bitter taste. Let's conclude with one last extraordinary example of naturally gluten-free whole grain, that is buckwheat. Buckwheat is a promising environmental friendly crop that can contribute to the balance between biodiversity benefits and crop yield. Buckwheat is native to south central China and has been introduced into suitable climates across Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Despite its name, buckwheat is not a cereal, nor is it even a member of the grass family, but its chemical composition allows them to be used in cooking like a cereal. The growing popularity of buckwheat is largely due to its attractive nutritional profile. Buckwheat has been reported to possess bioactive components such as rutin and quercetin, known for their anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Why is buckwheat so interesting? Here's why. Buckwheat contain a protein content. The protein content is up to 13%, with an exceptional balance of amino acids, with higher content of lysine, methionine, and cysteine than common cereals. Buckwheat is an excellent source of dietary fibers composed by lignin, hemicellulose, and cellulose. Buckwheat has a lipid content up to 7%, mostly represented by unsaturated fatty acids and buckwheat has also an high amount of magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, and a source of phenolic compounds. To date, scientific evidence provide numerous findings on the role of whole grain in human health. I believe it is important to focus on this aspect to better understand the significance of these grains in the Mediterranean diet model. Although the mechanism underlying the beneficial effects of the Mediterranean diet are not yet fully understood, several molecular and clinical mechanisms have been studied to help explain the positive impact of this dietary pattern. The available evidences suggest that the beneficial effects include reduction of oxidative stress and a reduction of chronic low-grade inflammation. At the same time, the Mediterranean diet seemed to improve lipid profiles, weight loss, microbiota composition, immune response, and insulin resistance. Epidemiological studies indicate that consuming whole grain may reduce the risk of obesity. This suggests that a diet rich in whole grain may help mitigate the rise incidence of obesity-related disease, such as cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and various cancer. Which are the mechanisms behind whole grains' impact? Then, whole grain, due to their high fiber content and lower energy density, may lead to greater fullness and reduced food intake. The structure and texture of whole grain, making them less palatable and requiring more chewing, can contribute to better satiety. Eating whole grains often requires more chewing, which may contribute to increased gastric distension, signaling fullness to the brain. Whole grain may extend the time between meals before hunger returns, contributing to overall calorie reduction. Grains like oat, which contain soluble fibers, may enhance the viscosity of the gut content, slow gastric emptying, and inhibit nutrient absorption, all of which can promote fullness and weight management. And what about microbiota? There is a growing evidence that the gut microbiota plays a crucial role in obesity. All grains may influence the microbiota, promoting the production of short chain fatty acids during the fermentation of dietary fibers. These short chain fatty acids can provide metabolic benefits by regulating energy balance, glucose metabolism, and fat oxidation. These short chain fatty acids also stimulate the release of gut hormones like peptide YY, GLP-1, which have been shown to suppress appetite, slow digestion, and improve glucose control. The fermentation process of fibers from plant-based food increases the acidity in the colon, which creates conditions that support beneficial bacteria while inhibiting harmful ones. Epidemiological research indicates that the regular consumption of all grains plays a protective role against inflammation. The figure illustrates that all grains can regulate inflammation through various pathways, which, with their beneficial effects attributed to dietary fibers, phenolic acids, and their metabolites, as well as microbial metabolites such as short chain fatty acids, which are derived from fiber. Short chain fatty acids are key players in this process due to their ability to modulate immune responses and cytokine production, contributed to the anti-inflammatory properties of all grains. Specifically, short chain fatty acids can inhibit the activity of NF-κB, that is a transcription factor involved in the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which is typically activated by inflammatory signals. Short chain fatty acids act through G protein coupled receptors, such as GPR41, GPR42, and GPR43. These receptors are found in the gut, immune cells, fat cells, and the activation of these receptors may induce different effects on various tissues. The overall function of these receptors is to regulate aspects of intestinal motility, hormone secretion, maintenance of epithelial barrier, and immune cell function. Moreover, additional research has shown that all grains have modulatory effects on beneficial gut microbiota, such as lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. A significant link has been observed between a reduction in the inflammatory marker TNF alpha and an increase in lactobacillus population. Then, recent studies suggest that all grains may influence the secretion of GLP-1, a hormone involved in regulated blood sugar levels and appetite. All grains rich in fiber, phenolic compounds, and other bioactive components may enhance GLP-1 secretion through mechanisms such as the fermentation of fiber by gut microbiota, which produces short-chain fatty acids. GLP-1 is produced in the gut and has a pleiotropic effect as illustrated in this figure. GLP-1 slows gastric emptying and gastrointestinal motility, this promoting feeling of fullness, reducing appetite in the brain and consequently food intake. GLP-1 have been shown to have direct protective effects on the cardiovascular system. These effects are believed to be mediated through both GLP-1 receptor activation on vascular cells and indirect pathways involving insulin sensitivity and inflammation reduction. GLP-1 promotes insulin secretion in response to meal, reduces glucagon level, and enhances beta cell proliferation. GLP-1 also enhances insulin sensitivity in peripheral tissues such as the liver, muscle, and fat cells. This effect helps improve overall metabolic control and contributes to the regulation of blood glucose level in both healthy individuals and those with insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes. It is fascinating to note that in recent decades, naturally gluten free all grains have become central to food innovation. Food companies have invested significant resources to develop new technologies and techniques that transform how all grains are produced, processed, and consumed. This can include advancement in food security, sustainability, nutritional content, and sensory appeal, driven by scientific research and consumer demand for healthier, more convenient, and environmental friendly options. Here is a summary of both traditional and emerging food processing techniques that enable the transformation of all grains into edible forms with enhanced organoleptic properties, such as homemade bakery products, porridge, soup, fermented products, and ready to eat seasoned grains. The common processing methods used for this purpose are debraining, soaking, roasting, milling, steaming, sprouting, popping, and flaking to produce ready-to-eat grains and fermented products. With the growing awareness of their nutritional value and health benefits, naturally gluten-free all grains have become central to the production of emerging food products, including healthy food, plant-based protein, high-fiber foods, low glycemic index option, and allergen-free products. These are created using modern food processing techniques and are often marketed at premium prices. Examples of these modern techniques are extrusion, microwave, ultrasound, 3D printing, and high pressure processing. There is also a growing interest in isolating various functional components from naturally gluten free whole grains, such as starch, protein, bran, fiber, oil, and bioactive compounds. These components can then be used in the production of healthy foods, nutraceuticals, and pharmaceuticals. Then, the points covered in this presentation highlight the numerous reasons why gluten-free whole grains can be considered among the key components of Mediterranean diet because they are health promoting, nutrient rich, sustainable, available, and for a broadened diet. In the end, I would like to conclude my presentation by trying to define what are the future opportunities and the challenges for the food industry and for scientific research in the field of all grains. Today we talked about why gluten-free cereals should be considered an added value in the biodiversity of Mediterranean diet. The use of these whole grains in food industry can improve world food security and economic growth. Future research should be focused on breeding programs toward cultivars with improved agronomic characteristics and superior nutritional qualities, and developing technological processes able to produce innovative foods, preserve nutrients and bioactives, and meet consumer expectation. A key challenge for the food industry is to increase the whole grain content in processed food without compromising taste and texture. To improve population diet quality, public health professionals can help patients understand the research on whole grains and health benefits and how people with different dietary needs can meet recommended whole grain intake. In conclusion, I would like to express my gratitude for your attention and share my contact information with you. Please feel free to reach out at any time. Your feedback is important for me for personal growth, improvement, and above all, for fostering the exchange of knowledge, ideas, and opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful. Before we open it up to Q&A, I am just going to share my screen here, and we're going to do um, a little interactive assessment before we get going. And I'm also going to try and get our polls going. So we have 3 questions. We learned a lot about different gluten-free grains today. And so our first poll question is about which one has the highest content of resistant starch. So I will let you guys have a few more seconds. Okay, a few more seconds and I'll end that poll and share the results. So yeah, pretty mixed across the board, but sorghum, for those of you, the majority of you who got that, that's great. Our next poll question is about the amino acid profile. So which of these gluten-free grains has the most balanced amino acid profile with a higher content of lysine, methionine, and cysteine than most other grains? So I'll give you a little bit of time. All right, few more seconds. And we'll share the results. And so the answer here is buckwheat. Buckwheat is one of our pseudo grains. And it's our pseudo grains like buckwheat and quinoa and amaranth that we see tend to have these features amino acid wise. So all good things to keep in your back pocket when you're working with patients and clients. And then finally, I just have a reflection question for you to think about as we go into the Q&A section, and as you think about how to apply these findings to your work. And that's how can you adapt a Mediterranean diet for patients with celiac disease or who are otherwise unable to consume gluten for whatever reason? So I'll let you think about that one on your own, and I will stop sharing my screen. And Dr. La Barbuta,
Yeah.
I welcome you if you want to take a look at some of our Q&A questions that have
Yeah,
come in. Feel free to begin wherever you would like.
yeah. I'm ready. I'm reading. There is a question about teff. Teff is mixed with the gluten-free grains, so can it be used for bread making other than injera bread? Yes. Thank you for this question. Is a great question. The answer is that naturally gluten-free or grain can be used to create a blend with other grains, not only with the naturally gluten-free ones, but in general. And they are perfect in the blend because we can mixing grains, we can improve the nutritional profile of the products. And so the answer is yes, it is possible to mix teff with other grains. It's a very good approach.
I think that's a good tip too, because I understand when you mix it, the texture improves as well.
Yes, also improve the texture, also the sensory aspects, probably also the taste. It is a good opportunity to make blend. So I go on. Uh,
And while Dr. La Barbuta is reading some of these questions, for those that are interested in baking with different gluten-free whole grains, there's a book called Flavor Flowers by Alice Medrick, and she dives into a lot
okay.
of the grains that Dr. La Barbuta talked about today and like their baking characteristics. Because we all know
Okay,
gluten-free bread don't have
I
the same texture. But okay, go on. Next question.
I'm ready. Do you have suggestions on how to create delicious recipes using some of these grains? Resource perhaps. There are many opportunities to consume these grains. On the market, we have the possibility to find grains, but also products. Such as bread, pasta, and so on. For example, in the market, you can find pasta with these ingredients. This could represent an important alternative to the traditional pasta. That is wheat pasta. But you can find also snacks, bread, also mixed flour that could be used to make something at home, such as pancake and bread, for example. There are many possibility, and in general, about recipes, you can find on pack on the pack of this product usually show has a recipe to suggest something to prepare at home. I'm reading.
We have a couple of questions about arsenic in brown rice. And we have some information on the Whole Grains Council website about that. But want to clarify,
Okay,
it comes
okay.
from the soil, not from like an external input. Um,
Okay, is sprouting grains a healthier option for gut microbiota? Yes, it is. Sprouting is a way to enhance nutritional profile of these grains to improve the digestibility and sprouting is a good option for nutritional aspect, but also health benefit like gut microbiota. In the research that showed the health benefits, how many servings per day or week showed a benefit? With regard to the slide about recommended servings, recommended servings daily, the cereals could be consumed up to 13 servings per day in different way, such as pasta, bread, snacks, and there is the possibility to have many servings of whole grain per day because the most important aspect is the fiber intake per day.
And we'll share the slides with everyone in an email, hopefully by the end of this week, so that you can look at the references for the studies as well. Different studies use different amounts of whole grain, so it kind of depends. But yeah, as Dr. La Barbuta said, there's benefits from small amounts to large amounts, so it sort of depends on what they were looking at.
Does oat milk provide the same concentration of essential amino acids? Um, Thank you for this question. I have some doubt about because in general, plant-based milk have a low percentage of cereal in the recipe. So I think the percentage, the concentration of essential amino acids is not the same, is lower than all grains. How about the arsenic content of brown rice? Okay. With regard to brown rice, there are there are the content of arsenic content is zero, I think, because in general, all grains to go to the market as all grains or as in other form of foods are checked on the on the there are the analysis about food security and quality, and so I think that there isn't the risk for the consumer to have arsenic by eating brown rice.
Yeah, there's a lot of good questions about that. Someone also typed, there's a lot of good conversation happening in the chat. Someone asked about rinsing, and we have a study on our website. It wasn't about rinsing, but it was about like parboiling, I
Mm,
think. So we'll have to send that to you all, or you should look it up on our health studies page. But a lot of good questions about this. So potential future webinar, because that's
I
been in the
see.
news.
Yeah, I see that I'm seeing that there are other questions about arsenic in brown rice. It seems that it is the news, and I appreciated this question, and because it stimulates my curiosity to deep dive on this aspect, and I appreciate because it is important. I have some doubt about, but we can write an email. We can send each other an email, and we can talk about this concern.
Right. We maybe have time for one more question, Dr.
Okay.
Labarbuta.
Okay, do you have to cook oats to get the benefit of beta glucan, or can the benefits be received from consuming raw oats also? Many persons like to include raw oats in smoothies. Hence the question. Okay, let's begin by considering that beta glucan is a soluble fiber. For this reason, in cooking, we have a loss of a percentage of beta glucan for this reason, because it is a soluble fiber. Sure, consuming of raw oat is good for this aspect. I think because due to the loss we have when we cook hot.
Thank you so much. We have more information about oats on our website as well. Oats and barley that have the soluble beta glucan fiber and are eligible for that health claim because a lot of the research is done on the impact of these foods, that how they were consumed. So regardless of how cooking changes the nutrient profile of the grain, we're still able to see that health benefit of the soluble beta glucan fiber that makes oats so special, and are such a wonderful food to include in our diet. So um, keep an eye out on your inboxes this Friday, hopefully, maybe next week. And thank you, Dr. La Barbuta, for joining us all the way from Italy. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time. And hopefully, we'll see you guys at noon today, at 2 and or at 5. So, all right, take care, everyone.
Thank you.